My guest this week is no stranger to real estate. Spanning a career that has lasted almost 30 years, she is the queen of fix-it herself, having completed over 200 flips, dabbled in short-term, mid-term, long-term, and even commercial real estate. You don't want to miss all of the gems this investor is going to share with us on this week's episode of the Aid to Assets podcast. Tune in and don't miss it. Remember your notebooks. Welcome to the Aid to Assets podcast, the ultimate podcast for aspiring real estate investors. I'm your host, Tiffany Watson. Join me as we discuss real estate investing for 9-to-5ers. We'll talk about everything from money mindsets and property ownership and different strategies you can use to invest in real estate. I want to empower investors, especially those of us who are working full-time, who want to navigate the world of real estate, uncover the secrets to building wealth, generate passive income to achieve financial freedom. Equip yourself with resources from experts, practical tips, and step-by-step guides on how to kickstart your real estate journey. We'll also hear from 9-to-5ers who started to build their own portfolios, what they did and how they did it, so you can do it too. Tune in and transform your main job into your biggest silent investor in your real estate investment business. This is your Aid to Assets. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Aid to Assets podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Watson, where here I get to interview current and former 9-to-5ers who've made the jump into real estate investing to hear their successes and their strategies so you can do it too. And I am so excited about my guest today. Y'all, she closing deals right before we got started interviewing. This is how you know you want to get your notebooks. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because there's definitely going to be some jewels. Debbie, how you doing today?
Hi, how are you today? Can you hear me?
I can. I am doing fantastic. So excited for you to join us.
Thank you.
So before we get started with all of the details of your real estate experience, we like to start with receipts here on the show. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the business, what your portfolio is like, so people know why they need to be listening and taking notes.
Well, 1999, I got a real estate license, working in nonprofit for years. I was pregnant with my son and had him the year before and decided I didn't want to be working 80 hours a week anymore for other people and just wanted to change. So I went and got my real estate license, and nobody I knew had their license. And I just wanted to do real estate investing. I got my license. I went into my job immediately and told them that I quit. I gave them a 2 months notice, and they said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm not working for anybody. I'm going to work for myself." And they said, "What? We can't understand how you're just going to quit your job and work for yourself." And I said, "Well, I'm going to do it." So left the job December 1999. I went away on vacation. I was getting recruited by different real estate firms. And when I came back in March, I decided I didn't want to just sit home. I needed to do something. So I went and got signed up with a local real estate company and decided to go ahead and get started, and didn't have a mentor, didn't have anybody, but I went in the office every day because that was just a routine I had. And I listened to what other agents were saying at the time. And, they were being more selective about where they were selling properties and buying properties. And they were like, "Oh, we're not listing over here, there, you can take it." So I said, "Anything you don't want, I'll take it." And I just grabbed it and took everything they didn't want. In my first year of real estate, I sold over 100 houses. I had no team or nothing. And I did it all with boots on the ground, just my feet, walking the streets and working 10, 12, 13 hours. But it was for myself and not for somebody else. And that's kind of how I grew my business. And we also bought some investment properties at the same time while I was doing the real estate. So it was exciting, definitely exciting.
Wow, I love it. So you jumped in head first. So let's start with present day, and then we'll circle back to how we got here. What's your investment portfolio like now for all of the 9-to-5ers that are trying to hear what's possible?
Well, because I've been doing it so long, my strategy's a little changed this year. I did a lot of fix and flips, rentals, some Airbnb, some short term and midterm rentals. But right now I'm focused more on commercial development, new construction, a lot of that. I still have a few fix and flips and rentals that I'm doing, but my big focus for 2024 is a lot of commercial, multi mixed use space and new construction projects that I'm working on currently.
Very cool. Love it. So now shifting that focus to development and commercial property. So we'll definitely talk about that a little bit more. Now, you mentioned a lot of fix and flips. So how many flips would you say you've done so far in your career if you had to estimate?
Probably close to 200, maybe more.
200?
Maybe 200 or more fix and flips. Yeah. Not really counting doors.
That's not really awesome.
Yeah, that's not really counting doors. That's just really projects. So I've had stuff that had like quads or triplexes and duplexes. I may have held them for a little while, then I've sold them based on the cash flow or the projections. But, most of the stuff that I've done a lot of fix and flips, from tearing down to the studs, all the way to the studs and rebuilding back and keeping one standing stud left, but still technically not a built new construction, but it was considered a rebuilt properties. Did a lot of that, a lot of time involved, invested, learning lessons, going over a lot of the projects that we've done in the past. And things to do and what not to do, contractors, from everything from your material costs. So, it's a lot to learn, but you still, as you go through the process and things are new and innovative, you are going to still have more and more things that you're going to learn. So I always tell, I have my son, he's 26 this year. I bought him in the business 6 or 7 years ago now. And we always talk about, how everything more in his field is technology based and mine is more, business based, hands-on, referral based business. And his is cold calling, text messaging system, REI, CRM. But we collaborate together to kind of get notes from each other. So I always learn that what's the new technology, what's going on out there in the field. We blend together well because he has all the new innovative driving for dollars and doing things that, deal dogging, doing things that are new concepts where I try to look at it and say, what can I pull out of those that I can use for my side of the business as well. So it's been great. 2008 was a rough year for anybody that was in the industry then, because we didn't know what to do. Nobody knew what to do, right? All we knew is that the mortgage crisis was happening. Everybody felt like they were losing their homes. If I did it all over again, I would kept every property that I had, but not knowing we got rid of everything that we had because that's what everybody told us to do, right? And now today, the same kind of concept with the rates changing, the interest rates going up, people are saying panicking. And I'm like, no, this is a great time to buy and hold. When the market shifts in the next 3-4 years or whatever happens, you still have equity. Real estate is always a asset that never depreciates. I tell people, even if you had it for 5 to 10 years, it's going to appreciate somewhere, somehow. May not be as aggressive as you would like it to be, but it's always an appreciated asset. An example, you take a car off the car lot that's a 2025, say we're in 24, and you drive it off the lot. As soon as you drive it off the lot, that 20 and 30% depreciation comes off the car right away. You try to sell it, you're upside down on your loan. Well, with real estate, you got the asset. Your asset is already gaining momentum as soon as you buy it, because depending on if you're putting a renter in there or whether you're doing shared living space, whether you're doing Airbnb, short-term rentals, whatever you're doing with that property, your appreciation has already started ticking during that clock time when you purchase it, when you sign the documents, right? So I always tell people, look at what you do as, and especially as women, right? We love cars, but we love bags and shoes and clothes. And I do too. But when you think about it, is all that, when you add it up, worth going to give you the appreciation value that a real estate project or property is going to give you versus those bags and things? Is it going to leave a legacy for your kids and your family where you have these houses appreciation, you have legacy living, you have living trust, you have, you set money aside for your children who like to spend money on a monthly budget, but you're doing all this planning. And we, especially as African American people, we're not taught that we should be leaving legacy to our kids. People say, well, I'm not leaving nothing for my children. I'm not leaving a dime because I know they'll spend it. Or, I'm going to use everything I have now. When I'm dead, I'm just going to have enough to bury me. And that's okay. But if you're living a certain lifestyle and you're trying to put your kids through college or you're planning for grandchildren or whatever it is, where's the legacy building? Where are you leaving that so they can triple effect and leave for their children, and the children's children? Same thing, you buy a business, you leave it for your kids. If you don't leave them set up for that legacy build, they're going to be out of business as soon as you hit the ground, right? So I always tell people, look at, your life. We like to look good. Does that looking good give you the lifestyle that you really need if you have enough money in your portfolio, if you have enough real estate assets in that portfolio? That's the leverage. The real estate asset is leveraging your wealth. So it converts into where you want to be and how comfortable you want to be in your life. So whether you're a 9-to-5er and you're saying, hey, I like my job, I only want to stay here 20 years. What happens after that 20 years? Do you go get another job, or you figure out, how am I going to really make this work for me and my family and not be in a situation where I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but I'm legacy building, I'm saving for whatever future I have and my children's children will have. So we've got to teach our children the same responsibilities, right? This is what we should have. This is what it should look like, whatever it is, and I want you to share it with your children so your children can share with their children. The whole concept of buying back the block. Same thing. You go to communities and people get upset because of gentrification, old people coming in my neighborhood and buying it. Well, you could do the same thing. They're saying, but how? There's ways, there's resources, there's money, there's funding out there. You can do the same exact thing. You pull your heads together, pull together as a community, and let's go ahead and buy the block back. What's wrong with that? But no, we want to be selfish. We don't want to share. We don't want to let people know our experiences, how we got there, how you can get there. It's all, to me, in a sense that other communities and other generations and other demographics can do it. Why can't we as African American take the time to teach our families and friends and everybody else? Now, there's some people that it's just not set up for, right? Some people are just not going to get it. They're going to be the regular average person. They're going to be average cleaner, dishwasher, whatever it is that they want to do. They may not get the concept. They may say, well, it's not for me, because they don't understand. And that's okay too, because everybody needs a cleaner and dishwasher, a lawn care person, whoever, that they can make a business out of it. If they love it so much, make a business out of it, right? If you love to cut grass, make a business out of it. But if you say, no, I just want to work because I want to get a check every week, that's okay. But what happens when the check stops? And that happened in 2008.
Right. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit, because that's what this platform is for, to help educate people on how they can get started, especially if they don't have the resources or those people in their lives that are doing it. So I'm curious, you mentioned that you had your real estate license first, and so you were agent and you were helping other people buy and sell houses. What was it that made you say, I want in on this as well, and I want to own investment properties?
I think the initial feeling of wanting that first was my goal, not really selling and listing houses, but it was more about, I want to be able to buy properties. This was before HDTV. I like to go in and fix up a house I used to sew. So I used to sew like, drapery and curtains and things when I was a teenager, clothes. And I always liked to do a little decorating. So I like the fact that I can go in these houses and do that. But then I realized when I got into it, I was like, wait a minute, I can actually leverage these houses, get lines of credit from the bank and buy more properties. And that's kind of what happened. I was connecting with banks with real estate owned REO properties. They were calling me and asking me if I can list them. And some of them was like, hey, I could buy some of these myself. We were buying them as a family unit. And then, I was taking whatever equity we had in it and getting lines of credit on these properties and buying other properties based on the line of credit. So, and it was a constant thing. We were doing that on and on and on up to 2008. Like I said, with the market crash. So this was good and lucrative because we had tenants in them. We fixed and flipped them. We did some of everything. You didn't have the short-term rental concept at the time. You had corporate living, but you didn't have short-term rentals. But we did everything possible. I had family people who maybe needed a place to stay. We put people up, which is sometimes not a good thing to put your family in places that don't pay, they end up not paying the rent, so don't do that. But, like they needed maybe a place to stay. So we put them up in a temporary situation, but not everybody gets that, right? So like for me, we bought some land recently in Florida. Me and my husband bought 2 lots and they're outside of Orlando, but they're in a small community that they're getting ready to build a highway that's going to be 15 minutes from Orlando from where we bought this property. And most people wouldn't have known, but doing my research, I always do value add properties. I always try to find properties that give me added value. Then I was like, wait a minute, if this is going to be a highway that's only going to take me 15 minutes to get to Orlando, I could buy this land for $25,000-$30,000, own a finance and put a little bit of money down. I'm gonna hold on to this, and then I'll probably build 2 houses, which I plan on doing. And then I'll leave those 2 houses for my kids. They may not want to live in it, but it'll be some type of revenue for them to get every month as well. So those are the kind of things that I do. We go in different neighborhoods and areas throughout the United States. So I don't limit myself, but I tell people if you want to get started, start in a niche market, which is crucial because you want to learn that market. But because I've been in the industry so long, I buy properties all over the United States. But I only buy properties in areas where I have boots on the ground. People who I know that are in the areas that can take a look and watch out for the properties for me that I trust, that I have confidence enough to know that they're going to look out for my properties as well. So that's where I buy properties at. So I do have properties in different states and cities throughout the United States.
Love it. Love it. Now, you mentioned that you recommend for people to buy in niche areas. Can you elaborate a little bit more about what you consider that to be?
So if you're thinking about, okay, I want to buy rental properties. I want to buy rental properties that may be in my area, in my community. So you're niching that market of rentals, right? But I have a concept because I teach. I have a mentoring group that I've been working with for years, and there we have Monday night calls. And one of the things that we talk about is, what is your goal? Right? If you're trying to make $10,000 a month when you retire, what does that look like for you? Are you getting 10 houses a year? In 10 years, you'll have 100 houses, and then you have that $10,000 a month income coming into you, and you're looking at it as your net profit that you're going to keep. Can you live off of that $10,000 a month? Right? So that niche market is that market that you're identifying where you want to be. Some people decide they want to do so many things. But when you first get started, I always tell people, choose a niche market that you're going to really want to do business in. You can always expand later, because we all expand into different things like multifamily and buying apartment complexes. But when you first get started, you want to get that niche because if you're doing those rentals, you want to know what your cash flow margins are. You want to know your 5-year projections. If it's going to benefit you. Are you going to be upside down? Are you paying cash? Are you getting a mortgage? Are you paying capital gains tax? You want to look at all the options you have based on that niche market. If you're fixing and flipping, how are you funding the renovations? So you got to decide all of those things before you come in. Some people say, the prime example I get people to tell me is I don't have money to get into real estate. And I always tell people, you don't really need money to get in. If you have influences and friends, you could always get into the market. But if you really want to get in and you want to drive it, you don't really need the money to get in, because there's options like wholesaling and some referral business and some other options to make money out. I've seen guys go in and they don't have no license. They don't have anything. They do wholesaling. They make $15,000, $20,000 off a deal. And then sometimes they don't know what to do with the money, so they spend it, but nothing. It's not like the emotional attachment you have to your home. People get into it when they first start and they're like, oh, I love this house and I want all of this stuff done. But is all the stuff going to bring you profit? You got to know that I'm not living in this, but I'm preparing for the market. But I can make nice finishings that doesn't cost me as much as it would cost in my home, but I can still make it nice enough, right? So they've got to know those markets, and where they want to be in the market, and determine from that point, how you're going to generate that income coming from, whether it's that rental or that fix and flip they decide that they're going to do. Now, commercial is a whole different market. I mean, it's a whole different market in how you handle the commercial market. But in the traditional fix and flips and rentals are, it is what it is. There's a lot of education online, yes, but real live situations and talking to people who are actually doing the work is the most and crucial point and key. I always tell people, I said, if a person's selling you a product, have they painted the walls? Have they hung the sheetrock? Have they gone and fired their contractor? Whatever it is. Have they done that work? Or are they just selling your product because they just learned it on the internet? So, you've got to look out for those things as well. And I know I elaborated on the niche outside of it.
This is so good, because there's a couple of things that I want to make sure that people don't miss. And so one, you talked about the importance of being clear about our goals, because there's so many ways to make money in real estate. I think oftentimes it can be overwhelming and people just want to get in, not realizing that there are some strategies that are going to be best fit depending on what their goal is. And so I want people to really be clear. And that takes a lot of self-reflection of, are you just looking to make money right now? Or you mentioned earlier, is this a legacy move? Are we looking to build legacies and portfolios to leave houses for our kids? Those are two very distinct goals that have different strategies that'll work best for them.
Right. Definitely.
I know you're the queen of fixing it. So when we talk about fixing and flipping, for a lot of people, that's really intimidating. And you work with a lot of newer investors that are considering going into rehab. What advice do you give people that are considering they want to go in and rehab properties, whether it's to buy it to hold them or to just flip them and sell them, but they know there's a project that they have to complete?
The emotional attachment. Keep the emotions out of whatever it is that you do, because you can get attached to a property and you make no money off of it. So I always tell people, you got to look at the numbers. If the numbers make sense, then you buy it. The numbers don't make sense, don't buy it. What did I mean by that? The general rule is 60 to 75% of the ARV, which is the after repair value, minus any repairs. And whatever that bottom line number is what your offer needs to be made. So if your offer is, it's supposed to be 150, but the seller's saying they want 175. Well, if the number's at 175 doesn't make sense, which is a $25,000 spread, then you can't buy that property. You walk away from it and find something different. Don't get the emotional attachment because, I really like this house. I love it. But if the numbers don't make sense, don't buy it, because you're going to have other opportunities to buy property. And they say, well, I'm going to miss out on this opportunity. No, you're not. There are going to be other opportunities available to you, but the numbers have to make sense to make it work. That's my biggest advice for people.
Yes. In the comments, y'all, make sure, go ahead and put know your numbers. That is so critical. Now, the emotional attachment you also mentioned earlier about often new investors get caught up in the finishes that they want to put into properties that they're not going to live in. Can you tell us a little bit more about what actually matters when we try to make money with these houses?
So think about a husband and wife. If it's a husband and wife, a spouse, a partner, you always want to look at it from a perspective of, I know what I like when I get in the house. There's difference between men and women and how they see things. The most important things women or anyone looks at when they come in is kitchens, bathrooms, and closets, right? Generally speaking, women want to make sure they have a nice open kitchen, a big enough closet to put their shoes, purses, and clothes, and the bathrooms need to be nice and warm and fuzzy feeling, right? So I tell people, compare your prices to, if you have a contractor say, well, I'm going to go and get the products for you. I had an example of it recently, and his wife was doing some of the designs. And I said, oh, that's good. I'm glad it's a woman. And he said, why did you say that? I said, because you men don't know how to put things together. In sense that if I have door hinges that are black on my doors and my handles, I shouldn't see chrome, silver handles on something else. They all should be matching with the black door handles. They all should be black door handles, including your sinks, faucets, your showers. They should be all in sync, right? But they're like, but that doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter, but you don't have to do it at a high price, right? You don't do it at a high price. So your finishings, I tell people, look, I go, yes, you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, and find deals. Go online. SD and Wayfair are two of the biggest companies that I look for finishings and get them much cheaper a lot of times. You know those big sunken tubs that be $1,500? Wayfair will deliver it right to my project for $400. The same sunken tub you buy for $1,500. Okay? Shower doors, same thing. Some guys say, oh, I can install the shower door for you. How much is it going to cost me? $3,500. No, I'm going to buy the shower door for $1,000 or less than $1,000, and you charge me the installation cost. So when I say finishings, it's going to be nice finishings, but I know how to make it look nice, and I still can stay within that budget for those finishings. So that's kind of like, the expectations of, it doesn't have to be the highest price, but it could look like it's rich. Same thing with flooring. Your flooring, it doesn't have to be the highest price, but if it looks like it's nice, people are going to buy it. They're going to come in and say, wow, this is done really well. They used a really good quality XYZ, but they're not going to say, oh, what brand of flooring was that? What kind of carpet was that? If people want to put that quality in their house, let them do it after the house is closed, and they can go in and put their own carpet and stuff in. As long as it looks nice and it's good enough, because most people, if they don't really like something, like maybe they don't want carpet, they'll pull a carpet up, and you spend all that money. They'll put carpet up and put flooring in after they move out, because that's important to them, right? They may have pets and they're allergic to the dust mites, so the carpet may not work well for them, but they like the house. That's not going to be a break a deal, because they say, well, maybe I could spend $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 I budget to get me new flooring. You put new stuff in. You did it enough to put it on the market. That's up to the person who's buying it to decide. They're not going to come to you and say, well, I like the house, but I don't like the floor because it has carpet in it. If you want to change it, it's up to you if you want to change it. So that's kind of what I mean when I'm talking about finishings, the attachments, because people say, well, I want this gold finish in my house that's coming from Delta, or this one and that one. And I'm like, that's nice, but is it within the budget? Because remember, you have a budget when you're doing your projects, and what we call the scope of work, right? You worked out how much each line item's going to cost. If you have a budget for finishings that are $2,000, but you're going and spending $5,000, realistically, did you budget right? One, and two, are you going way over budget that you're losing money in your profit margin at the end of at the end of the transaction.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That is so key, especially knowing what matters. Now, you mentioned a little bit, and so I'd love to hear your perspective, because another area when it comes to the rehab that people sometimes are afraid of is working with contractors. What tips do you have in working with contractors? Hey, y'all. Tiffany here. Are you looking to purchase or sell real estate? As you know, I'm your aid to assets, and I want to help you with all of your real estate endeavors. Whether you're local here like me in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area, I can then help you purchase or sell your next property. If you're looking to purchase or sell outside of North Carolina, let me know too. I can still help you. I have a team of agents all over the country that I can connect you with to partner on your next deal. Let's get to the closing table, y'all. We buy our way to wealth, whether that's buying right or selling better. Can't wait to hear from you. Click on the link in the bio if you want more information on how to personally work with me or an agent on my team. Talk to you soon.
2, 3 contractors on your back pocket, because somebody may find another project after they started your project. You go to the job site, they're not there anymore. They hopped off to go do something else. And if you're on a timeline and you're not finishing your project in time, it's costing you money. So you always want to have 2 or 3, 4 contractors. You want to do your interviews, your referrals. You want to keep, they may be good at some things and they may not be good at others. Get them to sign a contract. Some of them don't like to sign contracts. Get them to sign a contract to say, hey, if you're not finishing the 90 days because it's your fault, then you owe me $125 per day. That's deducted out of the total. Right. Don't give a contractor 50% up front. Never, ever, 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 ever do that. 25% is still pushing it. I've gotten to now where I'm experienced enough where I'm like, if you don't have your money up front to front some of that project, then that means to me that you're struggling. So you're going to be hopping from wherever the money goes. Generally, we may give them a little percentage up front to get the materials, but the majority of them, if they've got a cushion, they'll buy the materials and then you pay them at the end of the job. When you're doing financing, it gets a little different because you have to go through inspections, send pictures to the lender. And then they gotta, once you get the invoices, so it may be set up in 3 or 4 payments, or it may set up in, per job. Like if they do the kitchen, they get paid for that. If they do the bathrooms, they get paid for that. If they do the flooring, they get paid for that. Some contractors will say, well, I only want 4 payments overall. It's a $100,000 job. I want $25,000 per finishing based on the phase. And I may say, well, I don't know if I want to do that because I want to see what else you can do. If you're not finished XYZ, you're holding the project up, then I can't get reimbursed for my $25,000 to give you back for the next phase. So it's all about really doing your due diligence with the contractors, making sure they're licensed and bonded and insured. And that's general contractors. And then there's subs, making sure they have a business license, insurance, because subs don't have to have a GC license, but you can get stuck in the lien waiver situation. So if they do not sign the lien waivers, you can be liable for anything that comes after. So you want to make sure you always get lien waivers signed by general contractors and subs. And that is a big thing because a lot of times the general contractor will sign the lien waivers, but the subs won't. And I've had subs come back and say, hey, the GC didn't pay me. And I was like, what you mean? I paid the GC. And they said the GC didn't pay me, so you still owe me the money. And they can put a lien on your property. So you want to be clear when you establish those boundaries on who you have, doing the work for you and how you have everything set up in your contract with your general contractors. They come a dime a dozen. In North Carolina, you got different phases of limited license and unlimited license. Virginia, you have it set up differently as well based on their experience and how much they could do per project. In some states, they like Cleveland in Ohio, I can go get a GC license in Ohio by signing a paper and going to the office and getting a certificate, and I got a GC license right there. But there's some states you can't do that. you got to take a test. North Carolina, you got to take a test. Virginia, you got to take a test. Certain places you have to take a test. Washington, D.C. is hard. But some places you can go and you can go right to the office, sign up. You can put down your experience and they hand you a GC license. So it just depends on what state you're doing. Yes. Depends on what state you're doing business. Yep.
That's so interesting because I'm in North Carolina, of course, like you. And so I only know, in North Carolina, that's where I've done projects where GCs have to actually have some experience, take the test in order to get their license. I had no idea that there were some states where folks was just signing up to get a GC license. That's crazy.
I know, it is. There is. In the United States of America.
Y'all, this is why it is so important to vet your people.
Many places in the United States that the laws are different, the codes are different. So you want to make sure that they call it UDC codes and that they've gotten permits. They've submitted the permits in the portals. They gotten permission before they put an addition on that they got the permit. Because you put an addition on and you don't have a permit. And when the buyer comes in and does the inspection, the buyer agent's going to say, hey, was this licensed? They said, well, no, we just added on. Wait a minute. That means you got to go back to the city. You got to get a permit. And if it didn't fit within the guidelines of the UDC code, guess what happens? You got to tear the whole thing down and start from scratch. Right. And some people say, oh, I don't need a license. I don't need a license. I could just go. I don't need a permit. I could just go do this. If it's not an existing structure or an existing, like an example, if you have a bathroom and you're redoing the bathroom, but if you're redoing the plumbing, a lot of times you should get your permits done because you're changing your PVC from your galvanized to PVC. You want to get permits for the plumbing. But if you're just changing out a toilet, you're changing out the vanity, you don't need a permit for that, right? But if you're adding a shower to a half bath, you need a permit for that, right? So those are things that you got to think about. If you're selling a house and you're adding an addition on and you had a porch, but it wasn't enclosed, and now you decide you want to close it in and make it a room, and you're counting it into your square footage, well, you need a permit for that because you're changing the dynamics of how the measurements and the square footage of the house is because they're adding in that square footage now. So that increase your value. But you need to have a permit, and it has to be permitted and approved by the inspections department for you to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so good. It has to be permitted and approved. So it's not enough, y'all, to just go get the permit. You got to have it approved.
Because I see people go get the permit and don't call back for final inspections or the CO. And then you're like, it was never done and it has to be done before closing. Right.
Okay. So let's shift gears a little bit because one of the things that I know about you is you get to work with a lot of newer investors. And so I want to talk about mindset for a second. And so for many of our listeners, this is a scary jump. This is a brand new world with all this new terminology, formulas, all of that. What advice do you have for new investors in order to prepare them to actually make the jump into real estate?
One thing I always tell people, don't be afraid, right? There's so many experts in the business that you shouldn't be afraid to jump in. Take action. People have a hard time. I have people that talk about analysis paralysis. I have 2 guys on the team that will say, it took me almost 10 years to do my first deal because I was analyzing everything. That's what they'll tell me. Right. Because they didn't have a mentor. They didn't have anybody to help them. So they were just gathering information. So the key is to take action, but take action with someone that has the experience to teach you how to move forward and take action, right? So they were able to take action because I helped them and mentored them to do that. So they went on out in faith by doing it because they knew they had me as an experienced person beside them. So don't be afraid to take action as long as you have someone that can help you move forward, because that's the key, right? You gotta press the button and you gotta keep going. Even if you make the mistake, you learn from the mistakes and you keep moving I always tell people to hit the restart button every day. Restart. If today was a bad day, tomorrow's a better day. So hit the restart button and start all over. There's nothing wrong with that. People will say, well,
that's so good. We got to start.
Yes. People say, well, I filed bankruptcy. I got a divorce. I had this medical situation. Just because all those things happen in your life, it doesn't mean that you can't get started in real estate. You don't have to wait till I'm comfortable or it's right or I have my money together or you'll never get it done. Most people that are successful in business have failed so many times before they get it right. You got to start somewhere. Whether you're helping someone by giving a referral fee or you're finding a deal where you get a wholesale fee, whatever it is, you got to start somewhere. So if you don't take the action and initiative to do it, then it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. That's so good. We gotta make movement. We gotta make movement in order to see anything. Okay. So that's mindset. Now let's talk about the money. So we know that, like you mentioned, that's usually a very big barrier for people when they think that they can't get in real estate because they don't have a lot of money. And so I know you mentioned wholesaling a little bit earlier and the referral fee. What do you say to someone when that is their biggest concern, the money in order to become an investor?
I tell them all the time, find me the deal, I'll get you the money.
Period.
I always tell them that. Find me the deal, I'll get you the money. I always tell them that. Don't let the money be the hiccup for you not having the deal get done. I can get the money. You find the deal for me.
I love it. Okay. So mindset, we got to, one, commit to taking action and then giving around the right people. The money, we got to find the deal. Because so often we think we need money and we don't even know how much money we need. So what are we talking about?
Exactly.
Okay.
So right.
And then last one, the market. So you've been in real estate now, we're trending towards 30 years. What do you see happening in the market that people should be prepared for if they truly want to be an investor?
So I see different trends now, right? There's so many more people in the market. And it's interesting because I was speaking with one of my co-partners and they were saying that they went speaking to a group of young people in a school and they asked them, what do you want to do when you grow up? And they said over 50% of the kids said they wanted to be real estate investors. They wanted to buy properties. So the trend is changing in the mindset of even kids. Because I guess they're seeing these rappers and people buying houses and things, but that their thing and wholesaling and marketing. So they're in them saying, wait a minute, I can make 10, 15,000 off of one deal. If I do 10 of these a month, or if I do 100 deals a year, this is what I'll make. So their mindset is changing to an entrepreneurship mindset. But are the schools and people keeping up with that mindset? Because these kids have transitioned to, I want to work for myself. I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to work for anybody else. But are we there to pick up the pieces to show them, this is what we do. This is how we do it. And this is how you can become an entrepreneur and make it in this world, right? So that whole, concept about what the market is shaped like people say, well, the interest rate's gone up. I could care less about the interest rate. When I buy property, I don't even look at the interest rates when it comes to buying the property. People say, well, the rates have gone up high. Is that still going to stop me from making money? I may not make as much money, but I'll make money. So, okay, I didn't make 30,000, but I made 20,000. Are you going to take 20,000 over zero? Just because you couldn't make 30 because there were interest rates, so people get hung up on, what's the rate? It doesn't matter in real estate at this point because you're shifting an opportunity from somebody that may be a new homeowner that's looking for a home. You've got this house, you need to sell, you're making money, you're satisfied in the homeowner. It's resolving a lot of the affordability issues of housing market crisis, and you're in the market to help people. Are you helping people by saying, I'm worried about the interest rate, so I'm not going to buy now? Well, if you don't buy, guess what? The other guys are going to buy it. So then you're actually in a situation where you're like, wow, I can't find deals. Well, you didn't pick up on the deals because you were worried about the rate versus going to buy the properties, right? So, I get a lot of people always asking me, well, what's the rate? What does it matter if you're going to make money? The rates don't really matter. I mean, when I was, the rates, people were telling me in the 70s and 80s, the rates were 23%, 18%. People were buying houses and their appreciation value skyrocketed. It didn't matter what the rates were, So you could always go back 5 years and refinance whatever it is, buy down the rate, do buy downs, 2-1 buy downs. You could do whatever you got to do. What does it matter? If you got the asset and the asset appreciates, it doesn't matter what it looks like. So the market shouldn't drive you from not being in the market. You got to, like you said, mindset, take the action to move the market.
Wow. It's incredible advice, because I hear often two things. One, when you were talking about students, I hear often a lot of people, grown people, they're like, they never taught us this in school. How long has it been since you've been in school? And so you're still blaming a system that was never set up for us to succeed anyway on what we didn't teach us, but we haven't been in that building in decades. And so when are we going to take that ownership? And so it's so important that it's amazing to hear kids are thinking about this and interested in it. And also you started this conversation earlier saying we got to get around the right people, because this is not something that we're taught, especially in our communities. And so I love the idea of knowing that we can help shape a next generation, but we can't rely on other people educating our babies.
Exactly. And I tell people, my 2 babies, and they've grown, both are entrepreneurs. They're in their 20s. They're both entrepreneurs. I got my son in the business when he was 19 in real estate. And I told him the only 2 requirements are, well, when you leave high school, you got the military or college. Those are the only 2 options you had. Both of them chose college. I said, all I'm asking is you go to college, you finish, you work 1 year for a company, and after that 1 year, you decide whether you want to be on your own. My son did exactly that. He went to college, he got a marketing degree, he worked for a marketing company, he learned the skill sets he needed. And he came back that 1 year later and said, Mom, I'm ready to go out on my own. I said, hey, it's all yours. And he didn't turn and then look back. My daughter she's a junior in college. She has her own business. She has 3 businesses. She worked 2 jobs, and she's a full-time student. And she, in her mind's like, I kind of had to reevaluate with her, because your children are different, right? I was like, do you really want to finish school? Because you're going to school for criminal justice, but you're telling me that I'm not going to really use that degree when I graduate, because I want to still have my own business. And I'm saying to myself, well, are we wasting our mind and money? So I had to reevaluate and say, well, do you really want to finish? And she, I kind of reverse psychology. And she's like, oh, yes, definitely want to finish. I want to hold on to it just in case in another 10 years I may decide I want to do criminal justice, but I still want my own business. So that was good for me to hear that in her mind, she knew that she didn't need to depend on other people. She got the education. And the only reason why I challenged them with the college is because I wanted them to see the business mindset of how to really set up your business, how to work your numbers, how to make, critical thinking, team building skills that you don't really learn in high school. So your maturity level changes when you get to college because of the independency. So that's the reason why I challenged both of them for that. So I'm glad I did that, because everybody always say your kids have your hustle. They got their mama's hustle, and both of them do. But not every child is built the same, right? So in teaching our children how to really go out and saying, hey, I came from a family where it's like you worked a job 20 years for the city and then you retired and you took your pension check and you didn't take a chance or risk on nothing. You paid your house off, your car off. If you wanted to move, that's fine, but you didn't have any debt. But in this mindset, I'm like, use other people's money, leverage your own money, get as many things you can and build wealth, no matter what it is. So if you can get that mindset and teach people, hey, I need to go out and I can still work a job and balance it out. And I get people come to me all the time and say, well, I want to do real estate full time. And I always say to them, do you have 2 household income? And then if they tell me no, I say, well, don't do it full time. And they say, why? I say, because you're going to always need, if you're living a certain lifestyle and you want to continue to live that lifestyle and you don't have savings, you want to be able to still pay your bills. Because as a real estate agent, if a closing doesn't happen, you don't get paid. As an entrepreneur, if your client doesn't pay that invoice, you don't get paid. So you're living from that coming participation, that anticipation, that prediction of the money coming, where you should be like, okay, I know my bills are paid. So if I do get this check, then I know I'm going to put half in savings and half to pay 4 months of mortgage payments. And then maybe 20% I could spend on myself, So if you have that mindset, you're building that wealth and that legacy. So if somebody says, well, yes, my husband, I have a partner or a husband or somebody that's supporting the household, so I can go out and do it full time, then I say, yes, go do it full time.
Such good advice. The ebbs and flows of this business is nothing I've ever experienced. And so, yeah, you got to be prepared for sure and have a plan and strategy for how you're going to still handle and maintain your finances and your lifestyle. So that's wonderful advice. Now, before we wrap up out of here, there is a phenomenal program that you spearhead that I would be remiss if we did not talk about. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So you're talking about my lovely property sisters. Oh yes, we're excited. We're launching on March 17th in Cleveland, Ohio. Anybody interested, come to Cleveland and seeing the lovely property sisters. We have a group of women all over the country that are all collaborating and getting together. Men and women are partners, but we got women that are really going to come together and get in a network. It's not just a membership, but actually find resources and tools and just share experiences and help each other finish projects, such as you're talking, you're struggling with a contractor. Well, my sister in that network, hey, I'm going to help you finish the project because I have this XYZ contractor that can help you. Or, I'm going to come to your location and I'm going to help make sure that we get all the contracts signed and you have everything you need and you got the money to finish the project. And that's what we're going to do in the network. We're going to support you. We're committed to helping you because in this industry, as a woman, you're a minority. So as being a minority in this industry as a real estate investor, it tends to be hard, right? You have people take advantage of you. They look at you like you don't know what you're talking about when they tell you they got, a 2x4 or 4x6 or what joists are, what a hurricane clips, and they're talking circles around you and you're not quite sure. I want to make sure that you're educated enough, or we in the network want to make sure you're educated enough to know that these guys and these people are not going to run circles around you without you being educated and knowing. So the network is going to bring you all those tools and resources. You're going to have that sister bond. You're going to get to meet different people all over the country that are doing the same thing you're doing, trying to build their portfolio, increase their revenue, build a legacy for their family, and have the tools and resources that you can go in and just say, hey, boom, I'm going to go to my sister here and she's going to give me this because I know I'm in that network and I know I'm going to get what I need from her. And I'm going to go here in this city and I'm going to get that. So I'm excited. Cleveland is the first launch. However, we're talking about Fayetteville, which is your home, Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, Detroit, and different cities near you that we're going to pop up and have satellite sites for Property Sister Network. And it's going to be nothing like, because people say, well, what's going to be different from you than anybody else? You got to see, because once you see, you're like, oh, they're not just a membership-based group. They're women that are actually out there doing this and willing to help me go through what I'm going through, and I'm not by myself. Because you could be in this industry and you be by yourself and you're just struggling trying to make it through by learning by errors, going in it and you're like making mistakes and you're like, oh man, lessons learned. But I'm like, no, we're going to tell you This is what you're going to do. These are the steps you're going to follow. This is how you're going to make it so successful. And we're going to walk you through it to make sure you get to the completion line. And that's going to be the big goal for that Property System Network. So I'm real excited about that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also working with a group of women that are in the multifamily space all over the country. I'm excited. We're doing a book launch in March 8th. I got April in Texas, and I was one of the co-authors. They asked me to join. I'm excited about that. So, I'm bringing all of these women together throughout the country. Sorry, gentlemen, not to leave you hanging, but we are minorities. So we got to make this thing work, as women investors. So I'm looking forward to what the Property System Network is going to bring to the forefront in March.
That is so exciting. And ladies, if you want a community of other like-minded women that are making waves in the real estate game, this is definitely a community to tap into. Y'all already know I am advocating for them. We gonna get this jumped off here in Fayetteville because it's a great market. Debbie, like we lit out here on the low in Fayetteville and not many people are aware. So y'all know I'm advocating for them to come out here so we can make some things shake. But definitely tap into the Property Sisters. We will have all of the information in the description box below so you can get information. And this is a nationwide program. So the launch is going to be in Cleveland. However, they're going to be women across the country. So you truly do have a network. And Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not just the investors. You all have a team as well that are going to be pouring into these women. Can you tell us a little bit more about that too?
Yes, we got attorneys, we got CPAs, we got contractors. We got women, women are coming in as contractors. Women are going to support us as contractors that are like, hey, no, this is what you do. We're contractors. We're going to show you. We got a pool of resources that coming into the network and going to give back to the community. So I'm definitely looking at, that Property System Network branch to really, really shine and turn this whole real estate industry around. Definitely.
I love it. So y'all, this is not somewhere where you got to piece the stuff together. They are literally wrapping their arms around you and helping you to make sure that you have all of the key and critical people you need to have a successful real estate investing team. So definitely tap into that and get plugged in and get into this game. I told you, we want to see you at the closing table. But Debbie, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for the information and the experience you shared with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me, Tiffany. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up, one last thing that we like to do here on the show, we like to do a little bit of vision casting. And so when you think about you and your business, where do you see yourself? You can choose a year from now, 3 years from now. When we watch this video, what are you going to be doing?
I'm going to be on a beach sipping a margarita. No. I do that already. A lot of my commercial projects going to be off the ground. I'm looking forward to solving or not making an impact in the affordable housing market, really making a big impact. So that's where I'm choosing to put my space. I grew up in affordable housing space. My mom and dad were together. They separated when I was 8 years old, and we had to stay in affordable housing in New York. And, I'm passionate about that, side of the business. And I'm looking forward to what I can do to make a big impact in the community. So that's my vision.
I love it.
And leaving that legacy for my children as well. Yeah.
That is amazing. Tell the people how they can tap in with you. Are you on social or all of that fun stuff?
So I'm not a big social person for business. However, they can find me at thequeenofixit.net. My website, my Facebook page is the Fix It Queen or Queen of Fix It. You may find either one. And I have people always ask me, where can I find? I said, I've been in the industry so long that I just meet people, right? So I don't have a big presence because people call me all the time and say, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? I know that it's a big thing to be on social media, and I'm on social media personally for family and friends, but the business side of it, I'm like, look, check the Fix It Queen, because I'm the one that solves the problems. I help you get the solutions. And I'm also collaborating with big business and small business and nonprofits and merging the two together to teach you how to find funding for your projects in the nonprofit space, right? So a lot of real estate investors are out there trying to look for funds. And I'm like, wait a minute, let me help you start a nonprofit, get supported by a nonprofit, buy that property under the nonprofit, and it can fund your for-profit. So I'm teaching that around the country. I get a lot of invitations and invites to do that as well. So, hey, the queen of Fix It, the Fix It Queen, I'm here.
Fantastic. And again, that also will be in the description, y'all. So definitely tap in with Debbie. Property Sisters for my ladies. Again, I'm going to be in there. So y'all come join me. I told y'all earlier this year, my goal is to do my own flip this year. And y'all know I'm gonna do it right here with Miss Debbie. She gonna be teaching me. Y'all gonna see her. So be on the lookout for that. But y'all, this has been another amazing episode of the Aid to Assets podcast. We can't wait to see you at the closing table. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of Aid to Assets. Remember, your journey from 9-to-5er to successful real estate investor is within reach. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep investing in your future. If you'd like to know more, connect with me on Instagram at Aid to Assets. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Until next time, happy investing.